Hey guys, this is Deep coming today with a new guide. I haven't come out one in a little while, but as some of you might not know, I have been taking a small break from WoW lately to focus more on school and work. But hopefully, I should be coming back soon, and I should be making a lot more videos. So I apologize. Uh, Also, as some of you might not know, I was previously a warrior tank and the GM of my guild, Elite Mercenaries of Tenaris, long before I was a Death Knight. So in this guide, I'm going to give some info and tips on warrior tanking. So let's get started. For gearing and preparing, as most of you know, this is about where 40% of the magic is. The other 60 is skill, uh, experience, and instincts. Let me first get this out of the way. Why you do not want PvP gear for tanking. I see lots of people doing this. Even though it gives you the minus chance to be crit percent, resilience does not give you avoidance, which is a dodge, parry, or block, when defense rating does. Sure, you won't be getting hit critically, but you won't have any avoidance, so you'll be getting a lot more often. So just don't do it. Get actual tank gear. Don't use PvP gear. Gearing a warrior for tanking is dependent on what you want, really, and the situation. But the number one rule for any tank that wants to tank heroics or a raid is that you must have to achieve the defense cap, which at level 80 at the moment is 540. That's the magic number for being defense capped, where you will not be critically hit. Once you have this, then you can start focusing on dodge, parry, and block and all that. Obtaining gear that grants massive amounts of stamina and strength. Agility is not bad either, because it provides dodge and a tiny bit of crit and armor, and most importantly, just overall avoidance. Overall, you just need to start tanking in the early stages so that you get your own feel and create your own style. Practice makes perfect, so don't expect to quest to level 80 and then immediately switch to protection and think you're going to do well at tanking heroics and raids, unless you already know how to. Potions and scrolls and all that are a big plus when tanking. So, more HP means you can take more hits, and more armor means you take less damage. Now, note that you don't need potions and scrolls, but they do help a good amount. You can actually see the difference they make. So, it's not a bad idea if you're fresh to tanking, carrying around a couple potions and scrolls. And lastly, a good tank cannot tank without a good, disciplined raid or party. If you are grouped up with a DPS clown that is attacking the X instead of the skull and pulls aggro off you constantly, just let him tank it and die. It'll teach him a lesson. Which brings me to one of my top rules when I myself tank. You pull it, you tank it. This eliminates DPS or healers that are in so much of a hurry that they themselves will pull mobs and in hopes that you'll pick them up. Wrong, let them tank it. They will soon learn who the tank is and who's in control of the mobs, which would be you, the tank. And as far as being prepared, you also want to make sure you have gear sets, different sets of gear. Now, I myself can't carry around, my bags are almost always full of just different pieces of tank gear. I have a blocking set, a dodge set, an HP set, and clown suits, or resistance sets, because they look so weird on me. There's all a bunch of different colors of clown suits. Good. I carry a block set for trash, and I use it in heroics all the time. But a blocking set is very good to have for tanking trash, since they don't hit as hard. The dodge set and HP sets are both for bosses, depending on what boss it is, what he does, all that kind of stuff, just what the situation is. And my clown suits, depending on if I have to take a lot of a certain type of elemental damage, fire, ice, shadow, whatever. So I always carry around a good amount of different pieces of tank gear for different situations. So that's always a good sign that you have a good tank, that you come prepared. Avoidance and health. There is so much to talk about, and why an example is why some tanks take parry rating or dodge rating over an extra 100 in health. A small explanation of why is having the extra 100 health or whatever will look impressive in town, you know, showing off your 30k, 40k unbuffed health bar, but then sacrificing your raw HP is sometimes foolish for a warrior tank. So let's say a mob hits you for 2000. That 100 HP doesn't really make a difference. That means he hit you for 1900. But having more avoidance, the extra parry or the extra dodge, gives you technical HP, as in you've avoided that 2000 damage altogether, rather than just soaking up 100 of it and the mob is hitting you for 1900. So in the end, that parry or dodge just gave you 2000 technical hit points because you avoided it, rather than just take it in the face and having your healer heal through it. Now, is it bad to have lots of HP? Of course not. But focus on your avoidance and make sure you have a good amount of it before you start stacking it. Stacking HP, that is. Now, on to diminishing returns. Some folks might not be familiar with this, but I'm going to go over a small explanation of trying to clear that up. Obtaining avoidance is an easy task at first, but as you obtain more and more of it, it becomes harder and harder to obtain. So for example, let's say you have a 0% dodge, and you equip a piece of gear that gives you 100 dodge rating. You now have 50% dodge. But then you put on another piece of gear that gives you another 100 dodge rating. Your dodge will only go up to 75 dodge. This is diminishing returns. So the more you stack, the less and less benefit you will gain from that rating. So that's why it's hard to get really, really high diminishing returns. And this applies for a lot of things. Crit, hit rating, all that kind of stuff. Warrior stats, the stats and some abilities. Blocking, this has become an increasingly viable stat in the warrior arsenal. Having higher block value, which is how much damage your block stops when blocked, means higher shield slam damage, which means more threat. So more block value also means your damage shield damage is higher. So that'll increase your TPS also, your threat per second. So having lots of block value will increase your threat as well as your ability to avoid damage altogether. Now, block is the only stat that diminishing returns does not apply to. So it is really, really easy to obtain a very high percent of block. So this is why it's so good to use on trash, since trash doesn't hit too hard. And with the recent patch increasing the block value of items to be doubled, you can block a pretty good amount of damage with blocks, especially now with the improved critical block. You can block double your damage, the block value. Thunderclap is a highly overlooked ability. This is a gemstone in the rough. I don't see enough warrior tanks using this whenever I was tanking DPSing and I have a warrior tank in my group. Not only does it hit all mobs around you for AoE tanking, it does slow down your attackers 20% if you have it talented. This applies to bosses too, so keep that debuff up. That'll decrease the damage you take by a good chunk. So use Thunderclap a lot. Make sure it's up.